So we've got our flat prosthetic piece, haven't we? So the clay actually is dried because it's been left there for a week. But if you really sort of, to keep it moist and not drying out, I mean it is coming off quite easy because of the releasing agent, you could wrap it up in a bin liner. You know, just on that table we've got some bin liners, so you could spray it with a water spray and then wrap it up in a bin liner, and hopefully that might keep it a little bit more airtight. So, and it's come away from the board that I'm working on, so that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over. My clay's dry, so it's just coming out really easy. So I'm just lifting it like this, look. So when you lift it out, your clay, whatever clay you're working with, you have got to be very careful. Because if you start getting your tools and your spatulas and you start digging them into it, you could really ruin your mould. So this is your negative mould, and this is something that you're going to take the impression from when we come to make the latex piece. So we're just going to gently, don't scratch it and change it, because you've put all that detail in, you know, to try and resemble skin with the pores and everything that you've wanted to create, so you don't want to go ruining it. It just needs cleaning up a tiny bit, so there's some clay there. So what I'm going to do is just get a soft brush and a bit of water, and I'm just going to start to wash it and clean it up really. So I tend to use some of my body paint brushes for this. Obviously I don't use my makeup brushes. So have you got an old set of brushes, you lot, that you're using just for your special effects sessions? So just gonna clean it up really with your negative piece. So gently, a bit of water, and because it's water-based clay, it's kind of just cleaning up. So you don't want any imperfections to spoil your sculpt really. So just like this, cleaning it. Does anyone have any questions? So this is the negative, and you can see around it here, that's the flat prosthetic piece and the edge. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to paint our latex onto this. And you can refer to this when you're making your other prosthetic pieces, can't you? I'm just using a tissue actually as well, and just dabbing it and getting rid of the excess water. So, like this. Do you get me to release some spray? Thank you. So once you've got all your bits of like debris off, like your bits of clay and stuff like that, and you feel happy with it, you can then start to put your latex on. So I'm happy with that. Lovely, thanks. So I'm going to use some releasing spray. I'm just going to spray that on. And what does that do?
Makes it easier for them.
Yeah, so I put my releasing spray on, and that just gives it that bit of lubricant really, so that once the product's been put on there, whether it's silicone, latex, whatever it is you're using, it'll come off it easily, and it's not going to rip it or anything like that. So I'm going to get rid of these bits of clay in there, like that. And then I've got some latex here, and you want a nice clean brush, and I'm going to start putting my latex on.
Tracy, I thought we weren't meant to put clay into the bin.
No, plaster in the bin.
Oh,
Clay's fine,
okay.
but plaster goes in that other bin. Yeah. Alright. So you can just make sure it's clean, and then your latex. So nice soft brush, just round the edge. Alright. And this is your first layer. And as you're putting it on, you might find it starts to dry really quite quickly. So keep it fine round the edges, because the edges is the bit that's going to be seen on, you know, so you don't want a thick edge on your prosthetic piece. Does that make sense? So your edge needs to be quite fine. So what you'll do, every layer that you come to do next, you slightly come in from the edge. It's like when you're making a ball cap. The edges need to be really fine and seamless when they go onto the skin. So each layer that you put on to make a ball cap or prosthetic piece, you want them to be finer at the edges, so you come slightly in. Right, so I've got into all the nooks and crannies here in my piece, and then I'm going to just put my hairdryer on cold air, and then I'm going to dry it, and I'm going to do this 7 times. So and that's just on cold air, and not too close where you're blasting it around and moving the latex, but as the latex dries it becomes transparent, so you'll see it changing and it'll become transparent. Obviously the more layers you put on it, it won't start to go as transparent, but initially you'll see it. If it's tacky, what will happen is when you come to put some more layers of latex on it, you could lift the first layer off, so you've got to be very careful. So you've got the first layer in there, like that. Okay, now my second layer I'm going to do, but this time what I'm going to do to make it, because it could be really quite thin and fragile, I'm going to just get a tissue, and this will help to thicken it slightly, so it becomes a tiny bit tougher and it's not so sort of see-through-y. It gives it a little bit of depth to the piece. So fine little pieces of tissue, I'm just going to literally place onto the prosthetic piece, and especially where you've got the deeper cuts in the wound. And then what I'll do with my latex, I'll then put the latex over the tissue, and the tissue will act as a strengthener really. It'll strengthen the piece. So the tissue's there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint gently the tissue onto the piece. But remember them edges as well that we talked about. So your edges can't be thick towards the edge of the prosthetic. Now latex isn't really used in TV or film productions anymore, or theatre productions. We've moved on, like I said, to silicone. But if it's low budget and you haven't got the budget, there look, so there it is, the tissue now has been incorporated. And again, cold air, gently, just on top. So you're drying each layer. So the process is a layer of latex, fine layer of tissue, only little strips to reinforce the strength of the prosthetic piece, and then dry it on cold air and do that for 7 applications. And then what we'll do is when we've got to our 7th, we'll then stop and we'll then go through the process of taking it out, and then the application, colouring it and that kind of thing. Alright.